Welcome everybody back to yoga. My name is Ashley. Those of you who are on this live already heard my story, but I suffered a traumatic event with my dog yesterday, and needless to say, both of us are recovering and we're fine. But I wanted to make a yoga class that was tailored around regulating the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So we can't always control what's happening inside of ourselves after we face like a traumatic or stressful event. But something that we can do afterwards is try to help ourselves re-regulate our nervous system or come down from the adrenaline, cortisol high that those situations put us in. And so this practice is created with the intention of supporting that come down. And we're going to be doing postures that are theorized and said to help do that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Feel free to close your eyes or gaze at a point out in front of you and connect to your natural breath. Take a few moments here just to notice how you're feeling emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. As a way of stepping into our practice, we'll sing the sound Om one time. Feel free to join your palms in front of your heart. Take a full breath in. Exhale completely. Inhale again. Keeping your eyes closed, release your hands. We're going to start with Nadi, Shodena, Pranayama. Feel free to look up if you need to. Curl your first two fingers of your right hand into the center of your palm. Use your ring finger on your left nostril and your thumb on your right nostril. Take a full breath in through both nostrils, and then out through both nostrils. Then plug your left, inhale through the right. Plug the right, exhale left. Inhale left. Plug left, exhale right. Continue on at your own pace with your own breath. As you move through the breathing exercise, try to make your breath longer and longer with each cycle. After your next exhale through your right nostril, release the hand position and just come back to your natural breath. Take a moment here just to notice how you feel after breathing. And staying seated, gently open your eyes. Take your right hand to the left side of your head. Take your left hand just below your collarbone. And then just pull gently with your left hand down as you pull your right hand on your head to the right. And gently resist the pressure with your head pushing back into your hand, creating space on the left side of your neck. And gently lift your head back up. Switch sides, right hand just below your collarbone, left hand to the right side of your neck, and gently pull those 2 points apart, creating space on the right side. And gently lift your head back up. Just take your hands to your thighs and do a couple of rolls with your shoulders back. And then forward. And then come on to all fours, hands and knees. Cat and cow. Bring your hands onto your shoulders, knees under your hips, and just begin to round, starting from your lower spine, moving vertebrae by vertebrae all the way up. Bring chin to your chest. And as you inhale, reverse the movement, lifting your sitting bones, lifting all the way up your spine, chin out of your chest. And then continue at your own pace, with your own breath. Feel free, if you'd like, to add in more organic movements, maybe swinging your hips side to side, roll your shoulders, head, neck, crazy eights, whatever feels appropriate. And once you feel even, come back to a neutral spine. Bring your knees wide and your big toes together. And sit back for child's pose, hips down toward your heels. You could either take your forearms underneath you and just drop your head between your arms, or walk your hands all the way forward, and then drop your forehead, tip of nose to the floor. And just let your arms relax. Notice if the back of your neck feels tense, or your shoulders. Just try to breathe space and awareness into those places. Lift your head up and just lift up slightly in your torso. Then walk your hands over toward the right side. Then drop your left shoulder toward the floor and reach your right rib cage toward the ceiling. And then maybe drop your left shoulder or your left ear into your left shoulder. Always feel free to stack your left hand on top of your right hand, hooking your fingers under your right palm. Push with your right hand and pull gently with your left. Sometimes that can create a little bit more tension on the left side in a good way. You can stay working here, or take your left arm under your right arm and then point your left palm up and just lift your hips up so your left shoulder comes down to the floor and your hips come off your heels. Revolve child's pose. Feel free to stay here. Walk your right hand forward and to the left. Push through your right arm, pull with your left arm, and gently pull your shoulder blades toward each other. Walk your right hand back. Untwist, reach your left arm all the way up to the left. Lower your hand to the floor. And then reach your hips back. Walk your hands forward. And just fold child's pose between sides. Gently lift your head, walk your hands over to your left. And then drop your right side toward the floor, left side toward the ceiling. Again, maybe opt for right hand on top of left hand, hooking your fingers under your palm. Pull with your right hand, push with your left. Maybe ear to shoulder. Feel free to stay in this variation or slide your right hand under your left arm, palm pointing up. Then lift your hips up, lower your right shoulder to the floor, and then maybe walk your left hand forward and to your right. Again, pull with your right arm, push with your left. And most important, stay connected with your breath. And connected with your breath doesn't mean obsessed with your breath. It just means be aware, but unattached. Walk your left hand back, push down through your hand, reach your right arm up on an inhale. And lower your hand to the floor. Come into a downward facing dog. Take your hands forward, your feet back, lift your knees up. Feel free to keep your knees bent or work your legs towards straight and maybe take your heels toward the floor. Push even weight down and forward through your hands and down and back through your feet so your hips are lighter. Create a slight curve in your lower back. You can put as little or as much movement into your dog as you'd like for today. We'll be here for about 30 more seconds. Lower your knees to the floor. And then take your knees back behind you. And if you have blocks nearby, you can use them. Instead of taking your chest and chin to the floor, you could take yourself a little bit further out in front of you to reach the floor. And if you wanted to use blocks, if you have them, you can do a block under your chest and a block under your chin. It just takes a little finagling to figure out the right distance. It would look like this. Good. It's called Puppy Pose in honor of Durgi. If you're all the way down on your belly, you could slide forward to come out, or feel free to walk your hands back slowly and carefully and push yourself back up. And then come up onto all fours. And then we're going to come into pigeon pose. Take your right knee behind your right wrist and point your right toes toward the left back corner of your mat. And then slide your left knee back. We'll start with a forward fold. Take your forearms down or go as low as feels optimal. If you'd like, you can even go all the way to the floor if you have the flexibility. And again, you can feel free to wiggle around if you'd like, if you enjoy a little bit more movement, or just be still, focused on the breath and on your environment, maybe the sensations inside your body, or even just allowing yourself to quiet your mind, if that's an option. Feel free to stay here in a regular pigeon variation or add in a twist. First come up a little bit and then take your left forearm parallel with the short edge of your mat and take your right hand to your right thigh. And then just twist your torso without lifting your right hip to the right. Feel free to stay here in this variation of a twist, or you could slide your left elbow in front of your right knee or on top of your right knee. Then maybe drop your left shoulder to the floor and maybe join your palms. Feel free to look up, down, or straight off into the distance. And slowly untwist, push yourself back up. And then come on to the other side, slide your left knee in, your right leg back, left knee forward. And once you feel ready, feel free to fold forward to as far as feels best. Feel free to drop your head. Either stay in this variation or lift yourself up enough to take your right forearm out in front of you, parallel with your short edge of your mat. Then take your left hand to your thigh and twist to the left. Feel free to stay in this variation or go deeper. Take your right elbow in front of or on top of your left knee. And then slowly drop your right shoulder to the floor. And then take your palms together. Maybe look up. And slowly untwist, push yourself back up, and then come back to all fours. And then do a down dog just to stretch your legs. Take your knees back to the floor. And then turn and face the long edge of your mat. Take your right leg to the right. And then you can point your toes up or turn them in. Point your toes as much as you need to. And then turn your toes in as much as you need to reach your foot to the floor. Take your left arm up and beyond your ear. And then as you twist to your left, lean to your right. Slide your right hand as far down your leg as is optimal today. Good. Slowly lift back up. Turn over towards your right leg and lift your right toes up off the floor. And then turn your left toes straight back. And feel free to stay upright or fold slowly over your right leg. Maybe walking your hands forward, maybe taking forehead to knee. Going as deeply as feels best for you. Knowing that some days deeper postures might not necessarily be best. Allowing yourself to be a little shallower than normal. And take your hands back to under your shoulders. And just bend your right knee so your right foot comes flat. And then hands inside your right leg. Start to drop your hips toward the floor. Maybe walk your hands forward and drop your forearms to the floor or come down to whatever level. Feel free to use props under your forearms. And just breathe here, low lunge. And slowly place your hands, press yourself back up, and just slide your right knee next to your left knee. And then turn back around to the short edge of your mat. And then take your left leg to the left, point your toes, turn them in till your foot sole comes down. Take left hand to your left thigh, right arm up, twist to your right, and then lean to your left. Feel where the pose pulls and contracts, pushing and pulling equally and simultaneously in opposite directions. Still pull toward the midline as those things are happening. And then slowly lift back up. Turn over to your left leg. Turn your right knee, shin straight back. And then maybe walk your hands forward as you fold with your left toes up. Maybe drop your head. And inhale, lengthen your spine. Plant your left foot flat. And then pull yourself forward to a low lunge. Free to use props or just come all the way down to your forearms. Maybe drop your head. And then slowly push yourself back up. Come back to all fours. And then face the front edge of your mat, wherever that is. And come down onto your belly. Sphinx Pose. Take your elbows under your shoulders, your wrists out in front of your elbows, and then push your hips down. Pull your shoulders back and lengthen the whole front side of your body from pubic bone to chin tip. Keeping your shoulders back and your chest lifting, drop your head forward if it feels good, as long as it doesn't hurt. Then lift your head back up. Take your arms more out in front of you so your whole torso comes down. And then just bend your left elbow so that your forehead can rest on your forearm. And then bend your right knee and reach back to grab the outer edge of your foot for a gentle half frog quad stretch. And gently lower your foot. Switch sides, take your right forearm out in front of you. Bend your left knee. Reach back, grab your foot, forehead to forearm. And just breathe here. And then lower your foot. Gonna do a bow pose, but it doesn't have to be anything big. Just reach back with your hands to grab your feet. And then maybe stay low and just push your feet back to get a chest stretch. Or you can push your feet up to get a little more shoulder stretch. Feel free to rock forward and back or just be still. And lower down, rest. Maybe do reverse windshield wipers, let your knees go back and forth, feet side to side. And then roll onto your back. If you want to do supported bridge with a block, feel free to grab a block. You can also do just bridge without a block. And then if you're doing regular bridge, just go ahead and take your elbows underneath your wrists and walk your shoulders in one at a time. Push head, shoulders, feet down and lift your hips up. And if you're using a block or a blanket or a bolster, you can go ahead and slide that underneath you. If you're doing regular bridge, feel free to come out before I say, because we're holding this for a while. You could do reps if you wanted to. Otherwise, if you're on a block or prop, just relax everything. Maybe take your feet a little wider than your knees so that your knees can go in a little bit and you can let go of any tension in your inner thighs. If you have the block underneath you, walk your feet back in under your knees. Then push down through your feet to lift your hips, and then slide your block out from underneath you and set it to the side. Just rest knees together, feet wide, hands wherever comfortable. Maybe do a couple windshield wipers, knees side to side. And come back to hips to center, feet about hip distance apart. And then cross your right ankle on top of your left knee and widen your right knee to the right. You could stay here for Sukhi Rendrasana prep or pull your legs all the way in. Maybe grab your thigh on your left leg or your shin. And then feel free to take your legs more closely to your chest if it feels optimal today. Then feel free to rock side to side, especially on the right side of your back. And then switch sides. Take your left ankle over your right knee. Widen your left knee to the left and then pull your legs in as closely as you'd like. Grab your right thigh or shin with your hands. Maybe rock side to side on the left side of your back. And let go of your leg, uncross your foot. Bring your feet and knees together with your feet still on the floor. And then pull your right knee towards you. From inside your right leg, grab outside your right foot or your right big toe. Then push your foot and hand into each other as you work your right leg towards straight. Then take your left hand to your left thigh. Feel free to straighten your left leg along your mat. Just breathe here. Point your left toes and your kneecap up as you point your right toes and kneecap down. And gently open your right leg to the right. It doesn't have to come all the way down, just enough to get a stretch to your inner right thigh, maybe your left side of your hip flexors, top of your left thigh maybe. And bring your right leg back up. Bend your right knee and hook your right toes behind the left back of your left knee. And then just twist your lower half of your body to the left. Your right knee can just come to parallel to the floor. Or if your low back feels okay with it, you can take your knee all the way down to the floor. If you had a block nearby, you could put a knee on a block instead. But do rotate your outer right hip away from your right shoulder. And press your right shoulder back toward the floor to create space on your right side. And gently untwist. Hips to center, feet on the floor. And then pull your left knee towards you. And then grab your left foot. Push your foot into your hand, hand into your foot, and maybe straighten your left leg. Do or don't straighten your right leg with your right arm on your right thigh. And breathe here. And slowly open your left leg to the left. Slowly bring your leg back up. Bend your left knee, hook your foot under your right knee, and then twist the lower half of your body to your right. Again, feel free to take your knee as low toward the floor as feels optimal. Lengthen from left hip to armpit. Untwist. Hips to center. And then take your legs into happy baby. From inside your legs, grab outside your feet. And push your feet and hands into each other. And gently rock side to side. Feel free to tap one knee to the floor, then the other. Feel free to bend one knee, straighten the other. Feel free to straighten both legs, pointing your toes toward the floor. Do any or all of that. Then bend your knees, pulling your heels toward your hips. Take your legs together. And then from outside your legs, grab outside your feet for a reclined intense west or Urdhva Mukha Pashimo Tanasana 2. Feel free to work your legs straighter. Come up all the way to your middle or upper back, but no weight on your neck. Extend your legs as far beyond your head as feels best. Try to keep ribs and thighs connected, but press them away from each other. And slowly roll down, vertebrae by vertebrae. And then roll over to one side. And slowly push yourself up. Take your legs out in front of you. Make sure your sitting bones are even. We're going to go for Pashimo Tanasana. Feel free to bend your knees, ribs to thighs, or take legs straight, ribs to thighs, and slowly drape yourself over your legs. Maybe hands surrounding your legs, or grabbing onto your feet or legs, and dropping your head toward your legs. Slowly lengthen your spine, sit back up, grab under your knees and pull your legs towards you. Take your feet together and your knees wide. Feel free to have your feet as far out in front of you or as close to your hips as you'd like. And then make sure your sitting bones are even. Feel free to take your hands or your forearms to your ankles or just above your ankles, or you can walk yourself more forward and fold heart first, head last towards your feet, or you can do the rounded forehead to feet variation, whatever feels better. Just breathe here. On your next inhale, slowly lengthen your spine, sit back up, and use your hands to pull your legs in. Take your elbows around your legs, hook your fingers, pull your shoulders back, lift up your sternum, and then just drop your head forward. Lift your head back up. We're gonna do Shavasana and Viparita Karani. So you can either take regular Shavasana or do legs up the wall or legs on a chair or a couch or a bed. If you have a blanket available, it could be nice to just set that up underneath your hips about a folded blanket's distance like this away from the wall. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and set up in whichever position you're choosing. And we'll be here for a while. So feel free, if you start to get uncomfortable with legs up the wall or in any other position you're in, always feel free to change your position. Take a full breath in and exhale, let it out with a sigh. Wiggle your fingers, toes, maybe roll your ankles. If your legs are up the wall, gently bend your knees. And just hold your legs here for a moment. And then if you're in Shavasana, just pull your legs in toward your chest. Then whenever you're ready, gently roll over to one side. And then slowly push yourself back to seated. Feel free to join your palms in front of your heart for one last Om. Take a full breath in. Exhale completely. Inhale again. Feel free to place your hands over your heart, bowing your head into your heart. Take a moment here to honor yourself, each other, this practice, and anyone or anything else. Take as much time as you need, and whenever you're ready, gently open your eyes. Thank you all once again for coming to practice with me. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.